event is still based on the island of Hokkaido, with the city of Sapporo again playing host to the rally. From here, the crews will head out to the forests that surround the city to tackle some very fast stages. Chip stands with 4 rounds remaining. Sébastien Loeb is 58 points ahead of his compatriot and teammate Sébastien Ogier. Loeb needs to extend that gap to 75 points to be crowned champion. Latvala in 3rd and Petter Solberg in 4th still have mathematical chances of lifting the driver's title, but they'll be just concentrating on trying to get on the podium. In the manufacturer's standings, Citroën are 86 points ahead of Ford, while the Citroën Junior team currently have the edge over Stobart Ford. They are 50 points ahead. The rally got underway in the impressive surroundings of the Sapporo Dome for 2 runs through the Super Special, a slightly altered layout from the 2008 version with a jump and tunnel added, and the head-to-head battles on this slippery concrete surface certainly made for a spectacular start. Kimi Räikkönen recovered well from shakedown embarrassment on this same circuit. The finished start using his circuit racing skills to good effect, 2nd fastest on the 2nd run through. But no one could get close to Sébastien Ogier, the Citroën C4 driver, making a blistering start to the rally. Quickest on both opening tests. Here's the Frenchman who takes the early lead, 2 seconds ahead of Mikko Hirvonen. But on to today's forest stages, which get going with the first run through Iwanke Long. This is a classic Japan stage with a mixture of fast-flowing roads and some tight and technical sections. It's followed by the longest stages of the day, Sikot. It could be rough and the ruts might be an issue for the 2nd run through. The day finishes with 2 more runs through the super special stage at the Sapporo Dome. And the countryside around Sapporo bathed in sunshine for the opening test, the 27 kilometres of Iwanke Long. With the 7th championship within sight then, it's Loeb who's first to fire up his 300 brake horsepower World Rally car. Here we go then, the first of 6 forest stages on this opening day, and already a flat-out flowing blast through the trees. It's a really soft gravel surface in Japan, especially in the dry conditions we're seeing compared to 2008. For the moment, the main threat to Loeb in the championship race comes from his teammate Sébastien Ogier. Already leading after the previous evening's Super Special, the 26-year-old is attacking hard again, and on one of the many flat-out sections here. Then hard on the brakes into this 90 right. Judging braking points correctly will be key, and the surface much rougher now with some big stones as well, where the surface has been repaired in here. With Ford well behind in the Manufacturers' Championship, the pressure is on their drivers to stay ahead of their Citroën rivals. Jari-Matti Latvala has always shown good pace in Japan and could be one to watch this weekend. Another driver with a good record in Japan is Petter Solberg. The 2004 Japan winner, though, is recovering from a bout of flu, so will be really struggling inside the car this morning. Loved by the local fans from his Subaru days, the Norwegian's actually more comfortable on these challenging gravel roads than most. Up ahead in the stage, though, Sébastien Loeb seems to be struggling for pace, possibly running first on the road, not helping in these dry conditions. But whatever the reason, you can see here with virtual spectator, he's already falling behind. At the 14.4 kilometre split time, Solberg a long way ahead. He's 4 seconds up on Ogier. Latvala's next to come through. He's already 15.8 seconds off the pace, and Loeb a massive 19.6 down with almost half the stage still to run. Loeb does make it through to the finish, but that's been a disappointing stage for the championship leader. Loeb strangely slow then, fast approaching the finish line back in the stage. His teammate has his foot hard on the gas. Back with the Works team this weekend, Ogier is going to smash his compatriot's time here. Wow, 21 seconds up on Loeb. A great start for Ogier. We're hearing Latvalas not receiving any split times inside the car, so it's been a somewhat steady, cautious approach from the Finn. Jari-Matti is quicker than Loeb as well, but not by much, and it's been an underwhelming start from Ford's number 2. Really narrow through the trees here. He needs to keep his lines very clean, so the safety first tactic is understandable. Back with Petter Solberg though, and the Norwegian is putting in a spirited drive considering his weak condition. Looking at Loeb's time again, and Petter too is on course to go a lot quicker. What a drive from Solberg, 24.2 seconds quicker than Citroen's number 1, and he closes right up on Ogier. Khalid Al-Qasimi is taking on Japan for the first time, so a tough challenge ahead for the Abu Dhabi-based driver after a disappointing couple of rallies recently. Incredibly quick through here. Oh, he's lost the rear! That is more frustration for Khalid and co-driver Michael Orr. Just 1 kilometre into the first stage. A bruising impact, but both men appear unharmed. Clearly, though, they will go no further today. A lively opening on our return to Japan then. Ogier remains the leader after stage 3, 2.5 seconds ahead of Petter Solberg. Danny Sordo is third, with Mikko Hirvonen, the leading Ford, in 4th. Loeb's disappointing start sees him down in 6th. Welcome back to Rally Japan. Citroën Sébastien Ogier is the early leader of round 10. He and the rest of the crews are on their way to the longest stage of the day, the 28 kilometres of Sikot. Sébastien Loeb has made a sluggish start by his high standards. He starts this stage down in 6th. In the slightly damper conditions through here, though, there is less loose gravel for the world champion to sweep clear, and Seb is able to push a bit harder, and he's certainly doing so through this flat-out section. It is still a more slippery road for the first runners though, and Petter Solberg is taking full advantage, with rally leader Ogier just 2.5 seconds ahead. Petter is again on the attack. Just look how bumpy this stage is. Ogier fighting his way through the ruts here midway through the Sikot test. Sections like this appear again and again today. It's really going to be an incredibly tough start to this return to Japan. Solberg also bouncing his way through the stage. Although there is a late scare for the Norwegian, he has a tyre problem through the last couple of kilometres. Has it affected his time? He needs to match that target to pass Ogier. Really bumpy at the finish, and that's another stunning drive from Petter. Danny Sordo is back driving for the Citroën Junior team in Japan and has made a strong start. The Spaniard also finding the rougher sections a real challenge. The suspension working hard as it bounces through the ruts. Danny is 3rd fastest for the 2nd stage in a row. Like his teammate, Mikko Hirvonen was a little off the pace in the opening test. But Ford's number 1 is beginning to find some rhythm through this 28-kilometre stage. With the championship race now over for the Finn, Mikko is under less pressure and his newfound freedom is beginning to show. Hirvonen is 4th fastest in stage 4 and just 13 seconds behind the leader. One man who doesn't make it through the Sikot stage, though, is PWRC driver Toshi Arai. The local star was desperate for a good result on home soil after a miserable season so far, but that dramatic off has unsurprisingly ended his hopes. A sign of how treacherous these bumpy stages can be if you take a slightly bad line. It's a really disappointing finish to this rally for Japan's most successful driver. There is no change in position through the short stage 5. Petter Solberg extended his advantage over Ogier to 10.3 seconds, while Hirvonen closed right up on the 3rd place of Danny Sordo. Henning Solberg won that stage. He currently lies in 7th. It's not long before the crews are back on their way into the forest south of Sapporo, and what a start it's been for Sébastien Ogier. He may have just lost the top spot to an inspired Petter Solberg, but beginning the afternoon just 10.3 seconds behind the leader. Ogier will now have the Norwegian in his sights. On these repeated runs, though, this soft surface will be incredibly rutted and rocky in places, so caution also needed to safely survive the afternoon. It's been a near heroic effort from Solberg so far on this opening day, considering his weak condition. The rally leader's focus is intense despite his illness. Petter is slightly slower than Ogier in stage 6, but only loses 9/10 of a second.
6 left minus half long tight over crest 15, 6 left half long keep in over crest in 2 narrow, 6 right long tight a little, keep in.
Sebastian Loeb has had a disappointing day so far, but there is little sign of his usual rally winning pace returning despite those setup changes. With a championship to secure, the Citroën driver seems intent on a steady point scoring run in Japan. The world champion is 5th fastest in stage 6. And there could be more bad news for Citroën in here, because Dani Sordo is also a bit off the pace. The road looking in a pretty bad state again here, and with the Ford boys raising their game this afternoon, Sordo's 3rd place could be under threat. Possible technical problems for Sordo then. Jari-Matti Latvala meanwhile is on an absolute flyer. The Finn is on a mission this afternoon. Look at the concentration there. With his first scratch time of the rally, Jari charges past Sordo on the leaderboard. Blur of blue and green as he flashes past. And it's not just Latvala who's quick. Mikko Hirvonen is also on maximum attack as he too chases Sordo. Incredibly quick section here, almost dead straight for a kilometre. It's so straight, in fact, that Jarmo Lehtinen has barely any pace notes to read for about 20 seconds there. Hirvonen too passes Sordo to move up to 3rd. And Hirvonen's charge means he's just 1.6 seconds behind Sebastian Ogier's 2nd place. Both he and Latvala have leapfrogged Sordo, who's dropped down to 5th. Out front, Petter Solberg's lead now sits at 9.4 seconds. Welcome back to Sapporo, where Petter Solberg leads Rally Japan. Back to the top boys shortly, but first a check on the Super 2000 competitors.
Day 1 of Rally Japan, and for the 3 drivers competing in the SWRC, it would be a day of hard rutted roads to contend with. With championship leader Chevy Pons opting to miss this event, it provided his rival Jari Kettemar the perfect opportunity to close the gap on the Spaniard. The Finn stormed into an early lead, and despite not being completely happy with the setup of the car, he quickly proved himself the man to beat. Next in line was Martin Prokop. The Czech driver had a difficult morning, incurring the aftermath of WRC driver Khalid Al-Qasimi's earlier tree felling. To add to his problems, a failing intercom system cost him time and confidence. He ended the day 57.2 seconds behind Kettemar. The 3rd and final competitor in the SWRC was Portugal's Bernardo Sousa, and he was loving every minute of his first Rally Japan experience. Despite not being able to match the pace of Prokop and Kettemar, he lay 3rd, keen to finish the event. So at the end of day 1, it's Kettemar who leads, with Martin Prokop 2nd and Bernardo Sousa down in 3rd.
Ahead of the SWRC runners, a group of drivers are fighting it out for the final WRC point-scoring places. Back in a World Rally car after driving an S2000 Fiesta in Germany, Henning Solberg has made a solid start on a rally where he finished on the podium in 2007. He lies in 7th after stage 6. Matt Wilson is running just behind his teammate. The British driver has struggled to judge his braking and suffered a half spin earlier in the day after taking his time to rediscover his gravel driving rhythm. Federico Villagra is back again for the Munchies Ford team. The multiple Argentinian national champion is around half a minute behind Wilson in 9th. Kimi Raikkonen claimed one of his most dramatic F1 victories at a rain-soaked Japanese Grand Prix 5 years ago, but attacking the rough gravel roads of the Japanese rally has proved a tougher challenge. He's running in the final point-scoring place in 10th. Back to the intriguing fight at the front now, and flu-ridden Petter Solberg has put in one of his best drives of the season so far. With the Fords on a charge in the afternoon, the Citroën Privateer has needed to be at his absolute best to keep them at arm's length. Solberg will be cheered every step of the way by his legions of loyal Japanese fans.
Keep in 6 right minus half long, tightens 5, tightens, opens half long, keep in, depress 23 left, tightens 1 plus.
Bit of a wobble there as Petter struggles for grip on this slippery surface.
Opens, extra long.
For now though, his lead is safe. Former leader Sébastien Ogier, meanwhile, is focused on holding on to second from Ford's flying fins in what is actually his Japan debut. He's slower than Petter Solberg again in stage 7, and with Hirvonen just 1.6 seconds behind, the Frenchman is having to take a lot of risks here to stay ahead. Further back in the stage, Mikko is launching an impressive attack. After frustrating retirements in both the previous 2 rallies, Ford's number 1 looks to have rediscovered his confidence. Can he beat that target to move past Ogier? The answer is an emphatic yes. Mikko is up to second and 7 seconds ahead of Ogier. Mikko claimed his first fastest time of the rally in that second run through Sikot, and he goes on to repeat that feat in the final Forest stage. An impressive finish to the day. Jari-Matti Latvala is also up for the fight. The 25-year-old has continued the momentum from his stage win in Iwanke. Latvala too is quicker than Ogier in both these tests, and by the end of stage 8 lies just 1.3 seconds behind the Frenchman. So far though, Sébastien Loeb is either unwilling or unable to break into the top 5. The championship leader's cautious approach has continued this afternoon. He hasn't scored a top 3 time all day, and as the crews move on to these super specials that end the day, Loeb is still 6th and almost 55 seconds behind the rally leader. And that man is 2003 world champion Petter Solberg. After the 2 Sapporo Dome stages, Solberg is ahead by 9.4 seconds. With Hirvonen second, Ogier did just enough to stay ahead of Latvala, but is just 1.1 seconds in front. For Petter, it's been an impressive, if draining. Japan takes place on Hokkaido, the northernmost of Japan's main islands. HQ and the service park are situated in the city of Sapporo. The crews will head to the forest to the south of here for today's main stages, and here's some more info on the 8 tests that await the cars on day 2. These stages total just over 125 kilometres, starting with the 17-kilometre Nikara stage. Look out for some very fast sections in here. This is followed by the 33 kilometres of Kamusep, the longest stage of the rally. There's some fast stuff in here, but lots of rough and tough sections too. These are separated by the short Kina stage, and all will be repeated in the afternoon. The day ends with 2 blasts around the Sapporo Dome Super Special. The first stage is about to get underway then, and it's Petter Solberg who's the first car on the road after his stunning day 1 drive. Nikara is another classic Japanese stage, fast and flowing through the forest, but again with much of this road recently repaired. There are several rough rocky sections. Plenty of fans around too who'll be cheering on the 2004 Japan winner.
6 right, tightens, opens half long into 6 left, extra long, tightens 5.
Petter has almost recovered from the flu that made his opening day such a nightmare. He's not quite 100% yet, but even so, his commitment is still impressive. Petta's closest challenger at the start of the second day is Mikko Hirvonen. Ford's number one begins the morning just 9.4 seconds behind, and after what's been a dismal season, the Finn will be desperate to get back to winning form again. Looking at Mikko's telemetry here through this particularly fast section, he's rapidly up into top gear. And just keep an eye on that speedometer. In excess of 180 kilometers now before he nudges the brake. Incredible speeds to start the day here. Former leader Sébastien Ogier is just over 21 seconds behind Petta at the start of the second day. It's been a terrific drive from the Frenchman on his Japan debut. He again looks calm and controlled behind the wheel. Back on the start line is Ford's second driver, Jari-Matti Latvala. The Finn blasts off into the trees, and with 2 wins under his belt already this season, don't discount him. He's in fourth, running just over 22 seconds behind the top spot. Whoa, good air from Jari over that crest. He's pushing. Championship leader Sébastien Loeb begins in 6th place after a cautious opening day. He's well off the pace at the moment. The Frenchman's low road position could aid him this morning. Yes, you can see the clearer lines in the gravel ahead of him, and Seb is also setting a good pace, judging from his early split times. Up ahead, Hirvonen's splits have also been looking very competitive. Oh, big spin for Mikko, a bit of an impact at the back of the car as well. He needs to do a full 360 to get back on his way. Over 11 seconds slipped away there, as well as his lost momentum. That's not going to help his pursuit of the leader. And at the end of the stage, you can see he was a lucky man in there. The rear of his car actually on fire after that off. Mikko quickly out to assess the damage. It's a piece of damaged bodywork that's ignited after touching the red-hot exhaust. It shouldn't be too much of an issue, but Hirvonen doing his best to put out the flames before he gets on his way. Blowing it didn't work, neither did throwing on some dirt. We'll sort that out in the road section. Despite that delay, Mikko remains in 2nd place, but he's now 21.5 seconds behind the leader, and Ogier has closed up to just over 2 seconds back in 3rd. Solberg won that stage, but there is no sign of Matthew Wilson, who had been running in 8th. And there is a good reason for that. The Brit has become the first retirement of the second day after spinning his Ford Focus on this bend with the car well and truly beached. It's the end of the day for Matt and co-driver Scott Martin.
Just came into the ruts in the line and just got on the power, and it started to spin, so I just planted the throttle thinking it would try and pull straight, but it dragged us into this stuff, and it's even worse on the other side. It's really quite a steep drop off, and it's wedged on the guard, and we tried to lift it with 4 or 5 people and absolutely no chance, it wouldn't even move. So yeah, there's no spectators anywhere, and we tried locking the diffs and putting stuff under the wheels, and just it's so soft, it's just digging a bigger hole, so it just seemed to be stuck.
Welcome back to the forests around Sapporo, where rally leader Petter Solberg is looking increasingly comfortable in the top spot, but we still have another 43 kilometers to run before a return to service. Solberg made an impressive start to the day with the fastest time in stage 11, but in the epic 34-kilometre Kamoisep test, there is a bit more loose gravel around, so this will be more difficult for the Citroën Privateer as the first car on the road. A lot of sideways action from Petter here as the Norwegian fights for grip.
60 pressed into slight right. This flat 6 left plus keep in over flat pressed into 6 right. Half long, tightens a little, half long, tightens a little.
Mikko Hirvonen will hope to fight back immediately following his opening stage blunder. Mikko taking the inside line at a fork in the road and passing over a narrow bridge too. It's all quite technical, and Hirvonen's a little off the pace again in Nakara. Hirvonen's slightly under par performance has opened the door for Sébastien Ogier. The Citroën Total driver has started this second day well, and the fourth best time in stage 12 is enough to elevate him past Mikko. Ogier himself could come under pressure from a charging Jari-Matti Latvala. Starting fourth on the road, there is definitely a clearer line appearing in front of the Finn in this soft, loose surface. Anything better than that target time, and second place will be his. There's the flying finish, he could do this. Yeah, another good drive from Jari. He passes Ogier and is now 2.7 seconds ahead. While the top four continue to trade positions, further back there is a battle developing for what is now 8th following Matt Wilson's retirement. Federico Villagra is the current occupant of the position, but this soft surface is really cutting up for the back markers. It's becoming just as rough a ride for Kimi Räikkönen and Kai Lindstrom, but they started this stage just 5.5 seconds behind Villagra. Oh, and a wild moment there for Kimi. It's proof how hard he's pushing, but that was a lucky escape for the former F1 champion. His attacking performance has the desired effect, though. Kimi passes Villagra to claim 8th in stage 12. A bit of a reshuffle on the leaderboard then. Räikkönen and Villagra swapping places in that eventful stage, as did Latvala and Hirvonen. Out front, Petter could only manage the 6th best time, and his advantage has been trimmed to 7.8 seconds. Straight on to the 10-kilometre Kina test, and with just over 12 seconds separating the top four, we're set for an intriguing finish to the morning. Petter Solberg's already on his way into the stage, but we're hearing there could be frustration for the rally leader in here. The Norwegian has been judged to have jump-started, and that will mean a 10-second penalty, which pretty much wipes out his lead in one hit. Jari-Matti Latvala would be the first beneficiary of such a penalty, but he won't be aware of that just yet. For now, the Finn is still attacking. Oh, and a big moment for the Ford driver, like Räikkönen a bit earlier. A very close call for the Finn. Few ragged moments creeping in as the pressure builds this morning. Ogier is still very much in touch with the leading pair, of course, and he too is absolutely on it through this challenging 10-kilometre stretch of road. Another incredibly quick but also bumpy section here. The C4 bouncing its way through. With the top four drivers still locked together, Dani Sordo hasn't yet given up on getting himself back in the mix. The Spaniard is building his own attack, and with his first stage win of the rally in Kina, Dani and co-driver Diego Vallejo have begun to gain on Mikko Hirvonen. Sebastian Loeb has also shown improved pace on this second morning, but he's still a long way adrift of the frenetic fight at the front. The championship leader is third fastest in this stage, but still over half a minute behind the leader. And Loeb taking the time to adjust his pace notes there too. Jari-Matti Latvala is now the leader despite his stage 13 scared. Solberg was indeed handed a 10-second penalty for jump starting, so the Norwegian slips down to third behind Ogier. He's now also just 1.6 seconds ahead of Hirvonen. The top four. Moving on to the afternoon loop then, and as we saw on day one, we can expect some rough and rocky roads after this soft surface has been ripped apart in the earlier pass. With just 14.2 seconds separating the top five, we're set for one of the most fascinating group of stages we've seen this season. Petter Solberg is first into action, and after winning the first run through here this morning, he'll hope for a repeat performance in front of his fans through the fast-flowing corners of Nicara.
Left extra long, tight 5 club.
Mikko Hirvonen has had a slightly frustrating start to the day, but he's still very much in touch with the top spot. It's looking like a more controlled display from the Finns so far in stage 14, and judging from the early split times, very little separating the leading quartet. Really rough through this section for Mikko. Sebastian Ogier too started the stage well and knows he has a real shot at claiming his second WRC victory on a rally he's never visited before. Next up is Jari-Matti Latvala. The Finn is one of the most naturally gifted drivers of this new generation of WRC superstars. His flamboyant style is again on display here as he powers through these sweeping corners. Fastest of the first three runners so far is Petter Solberg. The Norwegian again proving that road position is not much of an issue in this 17.5 kilometre stage, especially not in this second pass. A good run for the former world champion.
30. 5 right plus Titans top 2 right.
Solberg has thrown down the gauntlet in this second run through Nikara, and Latvala is slower. Solberg's fight back begins, albeit with only 3/10 made up in there. For the moment, meanwhile, it looks as though Sebastian Loeb's 7th world title will have to wait a little longer. The Frenchman needed to win, with Ogier finishing 5th or worse, neither of which look likely to happen at the moment. Seb is 5th fastest in stage 14, while Danny Sordo was 6th, and that after winning the last stage. Henrik Solberg's taken on his usual practice of adjusting his setup during the events due to a lack of testing. Back in his Ford Focus RS World Rally car after driving an S2000 Fiesta last time out in Germany, the Stobart Ford man is just over a minute behind Loeb on the leaderboard. Kimi Räikkönen, meanwhile, is still struggling through the worst of the ruts, running further down the field, almost stalling there as he powers over the ruts at the start line. For the moment, though, the Finnish star is winning the battle for 8th by holding off Federico Valagra. And this is how the leaderboard looks after stage 14. Incredibly, just 6.2 seconds now separate the fantastic four at the front. Sordo slipped back a bit after that slightly sluggish display, while Loeb is still well over half a minute off the lead. We're set for a thrilling climax to the afternoon here in Japan. Before we rejoin the WRC, a quick update first on the leading support category.
Day 2 of 3 in Japan, and for the SWRC boys, 6 gravel stages to test. 3rd place Bernardo Sosa was enjoying his Japanese experience, but that soon came to a premature end on stage 13 when an electrical fault meant retirement for the day. He hopes to return tomorrow under the Super Rally rules. Martin Prokop was as ever pushing hard, but was struggling with the ruts over the morning loop. A raised Ford Fiesta for the afternoon stages soon brought about improvements to remain a safe second. But out in front and seemingly untouchable was that man, Jari Kettemar. A flawless drive throughout the morning only got better in the afternoon when suspension changes served up improved performance. The Finn and his orange Fiesta lead the SWRC into day 3. So after 2 days in Japan, Kettemar's lead 56.9 seconds over Martin Prokop in second.
Back to the WRC runners, and thoughts will now turn to road order tactics. With the top 4 so evenly matched, the road positions for the final day could well decide the outcome of this rally. For now, though, as the crews tackle the penultimate forest stage, Sebastian Ogier, Petter Solberg and Mikko Hirvonen will continue their pursuit of the rally leader. Ogier in second, starts stage 15 just 2.6 seconds behind. The fight is on then for Latvala, who's just behind Ogier in the stage. But there's a problem for the Ford man. Near the end of the test, he breaks a drive shaft joint and drops over 2 seconds to the man in second. These rough roads have claimed another victim, and his lead is hanging by a thread. Latvala just 0.3 of a second ahead of Ogier after that, while Hirvonen is now 0.7 behind Solberg. Latvala is doing what he can to fix the drive shaft in the road section, but realistically, there's little the thing can do. Into stage 16 then, and while Latvala will be focused on damage limitation, the other three drivers fighting for the top spot now have to decide whether or not to manipulate their road order for the final day. As the first car on the road, Petter Solberg can do little to influence anything, so the Norwegian keeps his foot planted firmly to the floor. Mikko Hirvonen is already behind the Norwegian on the leaderboard, so safe in the knowledge he won't face the worst of the slippery gravel on the final day if he stays behind Petter. He does exactly that. With Latvala struggling through the stage, Sébastien Ogier is in line to finish the day as the rally leader. So let's see what the Frenchman decides to do at the end of the stage. He's definitely slowing. Sébastien and co-driver Julien Ingrassia have made a mess of their road order tactics in the past, but they get it spot on here. Ogier deliberately slips behind both Solberg and Hirvonen. And back with a frustrated Latvala. That damaged drive shaft is making the Ford Focus a real handful. With only three-wheel drive, Jari's having to deal with understeer when he turns left and oversteer when he turns right. And looking at Petter Solberg's time, who's gone quickest so far, Jari-Matti's going to be a lot slower. Ouch, 17.4 seconds lost. That couldn't have come at a worse time, and he still has to get through the end of day super specials. Runs through the Sapporo Dome don't get any easier. Latvala loses even more time and slips behind Danny Sordo. By the end of the day, he's half a minute behind the leader, Petter Solberg. So a four-way fight looks to have become three, but don't yet discount Sordo, who's just 15.3 seconds off the top spot. Who will win this rally is anyone's guess. And this is where the drama will be happening. We're on the island of Hokkaido in the far north of Japan. The rally is based in the city of Sapporo, with the main action taking place to the north of here. There are 8 stages in all today, but they total just 55.6 kilometers. First test today will be Bisan. It's just 4.7 kilometers, but it's absolutely flat out all the way with some tricky crests and corners. The 17.8 Nakawa stage could be where it's all decided. It starts fast and open, but then gets tight and technical. They're followed by the short Sunagawa spectator stage. These 3 tests are repeated before the big finale on the Super Special inside the Sapporo Dome. With just 15 seconds separating the top 4 drivers then, the final day is all set for a thrilling climax. Solberg begins with a 3.7 second lead. These will be tense moments for a man who hasn't won a rally since 2005. Here we go then. Petter blasts his Citroën C4 into the Japanese undergrowth. Running as the first car on the road may be a big disadvantage. It remains to be seen how much this gravel surface will clear. His narrow advantage could have been so much more comfortable were it not for that costly jump start penalty yesterday. And the Norwegian already looking really loose as he struggles for grip. Mikko Hirvonen begins the day second. The Finn is relishing this tight fight for victory after a miserable run in recent months. His championship hopes may be over, but his will to win has certainly not diminished. Sébastien Ogier, meanwhile, after manufacturing his 3rd spot on the road, is relishing his superior grip. The Bisan stage is less than 5 kilometers long, but this climbing road is still quick. So on this clearer line, Ogier is really attacking to push home his advantage. Even just 1 car ahead on the road, Hirvonen appears to be finding the surface very slippery. Mikko started just 1.7 seconds ahead of Ogier, so the pressure is on. Sébastien can sense he has a chance to catch Hirvonen here. He's looking really committed as he charges towards the flying finish. If he beats that target time, 2nd place will be his. Yes, a terrific start to the day for the Citroën man Ogier, now 1.6 seconds ahead of Mikko. Danny Sordo, meanwhile, begins the morning still with an outside chance of chasing his first win. And the Spaniard makes a solid start with a time just 0.9 of a second slower than Ogier. Danny's made up some ground on Hirvonen too. While the fight at the front continues, back in 8th place, Kimi Räikkönen can take a lot of positives from his latest gravel outing. A bit of confusion with the notes there, and he's lost it. More frustration for the former Ferrari star. That's another points finish to slip through his fingers.
Well, I just misunderstood a bit with the note, and we slide and stalled the engine, and then unfortunately we just back on the deep ditch, so it's just stuck there. So there's no damage on the car, but that's it.
Räikkönen out, but it was Ogier who was the big mover in that stage. He's up to 2nd and just 2.8 seconds behind the leader Solberg. The main event on this final day is the 18-kilometre Neikawa stage. The 2 runs through here could be where this rally is decided. This has been a fine performance from Petter Solberg. The Citroën privateer has fought through the flu to get himself into this rally-winning position. The Norwegian pushing hard through this fast wide road at the start of the stage. It's a worryingly sluggish run for the rally leader though. Over to Hirvonen then. Can he recover after losing 2nd place to Ogier in that opening stage? Oh, but incredibly, this could be yet more bad luck for Ford's number 1. He's overshot a junction and has to reverse back onto the stage. He then reports an intermittent gearbox problem. It's forcing him to use the manual shift and really affecting his rhythm. So already, that's one of the top 3 seemingly hitting problems. No such dramas for Sébastien Ogier, however. The Frenchman has already got past Hirvonen. His sights are now focused on the Citroën of the rally leader. Up ahead though, Hirvonen's gear shift problems are not improving. He's still having to use the manual lever, and it's really affecting his momentum. With Solberg already through the stage, you can see Mikko is a long way off the pace. He's lost over 20 seconds and will lose a few positions. He also has no service today to fix it. Understandably downbeat Hirvonen there. Back in the stage, meanwhile, Ogier's relentless pursuit of the rally leader has continued. That's his target, to move back into the lead, and with the flying finish fast approaching, this is looking good for the Citroën driver. Yeah, that's another masterful drive from Sébastien. He's back in the top spot. Is back out front and 2.7 seconds ahead of Solberg, while Hirvonen's gear shift problems have seen him plummet down to 5th. Danny Sordo slipping away from the leading pair in there and is now only 5.2 seconds ahead of Jari-Matti Latvala. No service stops today, so just a chance for a refuel for the cars and a regenerative massage for the body before the next stages. Mikko Hirvonen understandably looking dejected, while Petter Solberg still finding time for the fans.
Petter 2 stages down on Sunday morning and just lost the lead there, 2.7 now, but Petter Solberg doesn't give up, does he?
No, but hey, honestly, that is very good, you know, because, you know, to be first on the road like we are now, he should have taken much more time out of me, you know, so he hasn't impressed me at all, so it's no problem.
That's fighting talk, that is.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit fighting talk, definitely. So, because he should have taken much more time out of me, you know.
Petter in a confident mood, find out if he can make up that time after the break. Welcome back to round 10 of the World Rally Championship, where a final day fight for victory is raging between Sébastien Ogier and Petter Solberg. Next up are 2 spectator-friendly sprint stages, and championship leader Sébastien Loeb is already on his way. The Citroën star has had an underwhelming weekend by his own high standards, with the Frenchman edging closer and closer to an unprecedented 7th world title. It's been a cautious drive in Japan. It doesn't look like the championship will come this weekend, but it's surely not far away. And Seb has already claimed 2 fastest times today. Jari-Matti Latvala has also found some pace on these tricky roads. Without the second day drive shaft problem, the Finn would have been fighting for the victory, but he is at least close enough to Danny Sordo to build a late charge for a podium spot. So it looks as though Sordo will have to fight for the position he inherited after Hirvonen's problems. By the end of stage 22, there is just under 8 seconds between Danny and Jari Matti. Back to the fight at the front though, and Petter needs to fight back after being second best to Sebastian Ogier in the opening 2 stages. The former world champion has been complaining of a steering problem, which could become an issue on these twisty technical roads.
6 right minus and 4 left tight, 3 tight, keep it over crest, 2 right minus tightens, opens half long, the crest.
So this could be an opportunity for Sebastian Ogier. On his Japanese debut, Citroen's new star remarkably could now push on to secure his second career victory. Despite the slippery conditions, Ogier claims his second stage win of the day in the second pass through Bissan and continues to edge away from Solberg. Moving on to the critical second pass through the 18-kilometre Neikawa, and things are falling into place nicely for Ogier. He begins 4.6 seconds ahead of Petter. It's been another mature display from the 26-year-old, and as we've seen a few times previously this season, Sebastian is really taking the fight to the 2003 world champion. Really narrow section of road alongside a fence here. It turns out Petter's increasingly loose steering may be caused by a broken front damper, and it couldn't have come at a worse time. Petter is really struggling to keep the C4 on the road at times. Comparing Solberg's performance so far with Virtual Spectator, and he's already a long way behind Ogier at the 4.9-kilometre split time. He's a couple of seconds down already. And moving on to the marker after 9.9 kilometres. Yeah, he's even further back. Ogier storming into the distance.
200.
Now 4.8 seconds down. This could be the end of Petter's hopes of catching the leader.
Half long. And line 5 right plus.
Well, this could be the critical moment of the rally then. With just 3 short sprints to follow, Ogier could strike the decisive blow here. Looking at Solberg's time, he should comfortably beat it. Yes, 6.7 seconds quicker. He's now over 11 up overall, and that will surely be enough now.
Sebastian, another great stage time in there. If my paperwork's right, 11.3 now the lead.
Yeah, it's good. Now we just have to drive until the end, but still you never know, you have to stay concentrated.
Latvala, meanwhile, has continued to gradually build on his pace on this final day. A stunning drive through stage 23 sees the Finn beat everyone by 6.5 seconds, and he storms past Sordo to snatch the final podium place. Sebastian Loeb is also moving up. With Hirvonen still struggling, the world champion climbs to 5th place. Another reshuffle on the leaderboard then. Ogier is looking increasingly comfortable out front, with Solberg running out of stages to catch him. Latvala has got ahead of Sordo, while Loeb is now in front of the struggling Hirvonen. Welcome back to sunny Sapporo. Rally Japan is reaching its conclusion, and so is the Super 2000 category.
The third and final day for the SWRC in Japan, and for the super rallying Bernardo Souza, it would bring yet more disappointment. Electrical gremlins once again forcing the Portuguese youngster into retirement. Not so for Martin Prokop. The Czech driver hasn't shown the pace he's capable of this weekend, but a good third day saw him close the gap on the lead and was good enough for 18 championship points, as well as 10th overall, resulting in a single WRC championship point. The king of the naturally aspirated class was Jari Ketemaa. Having led from start to finish, the big Finn took top honours in the SWRC, 25 championship points and 9th overall in WRC. So after 3 days and 26 stages, Jari Ketemaa takes the win, 33.7 seconds ahead of Prokop, Bernardo Sosa failing to finish. Although only 2 finished the event, the battle for the championship title is closer than ever. Prokop, Pons and Ketemaa all have a chance to clinch the title with 2 rounds to go. PG Anderson's team Rufa didn't show in Japan, excluding them from the championship, and the Swedish stripped of all points bar his Sweden result.
Back to the fight for WRC honours then, and we have the short Sunagawa spectator stage to run before the final action at the Sapporo Dome. Mikko Hirvonen was hoping to get back to winning ways after a miserable run of luck in recent months. Another technical glitch has destroyed his hopes of fighting for his second win of the season. Still struggling through with his manual gear shift, he drifts further away from Loeb's 5th position. With Petter Solberg's time is fading following a damper issue, Citroën Total's Sébastien Ogier can control his pace, having built up a lead of more than 11 seconds. Sunagawa's 3.7 kilometres are safely negotiated, and the 26-year-old is another step closer to glory. To the futuristic backdrop of the Sapporo Dome then for the grand finale, where we could see a world champion of the future claim his 2nd career win. First though, Danny Sordo and Jari-Matti Latvala are racing head-to-head around this spectacular 1.5 kilometre circuit to determine who will secure 3rd place. We saw Latvala spin here the previous evening due to his damaged drive shaft, a technical failure that destroyed his hopes of fighting for the win. As it is though, he does secure a consolation podium. And after a battle that's lasted for the entire rally, it's somewhat fitting that Petter Solberg and Sébastien Ogier line up for one final duel to decide the victor. With 12 seconds to make up, it would take a horrendous error from Ogier for Petter to snatch a last-gasp victory. That frustrating damper failure looks to have put paid to Solberg's hopes. It's been another fine drive from the former world champion though, and it's surely just a matter of time until he's back to winning ways. Ogier, on the other hand, is already beginning to get accustomed to the taste of victory. Looking neat and tidy as he negotiates this fairly slippery concrete surface. And after his fine Portugal win earlier in the season, a tremendous drive on his Japan debut means this will be remembered as another landmark moment in Sebastian's career. Into the last couple of corners now. And that is win number 2 of the season for Ogier and co-driver Julien Ingrassia. Ogier's winning margin over Solberg, 15.7 seconds after Japan's challenging 26 stages. Latvala claims 3rd place after his final day fight with Sordo. Loeb receives 10 points for his 5th place finish, while Ogier claims his 2nd 25-point maximum of the year. So Sébastien Loeb's wait for a 7th world title goes on. Ogier has closed the gap between them to 43 points with a maximum score of 75 available over the last 3 rounds. A win at his home event next time out will secure the championship for Loeb. In the manufacturer's standings, Citroën outscored Ford by 9 points here in Japan. Their lead now an impressive 95. That title also looking increasingly likely it will stay in Paris. And the Spirit of the Rally Award goes to the students from Takayama College who've been working on Tomoki Ahashi's car this weekend. And as we've seen, they take huge pride in their jobs. Next, the WRC heads back to Europe for a brand new Rally France. This passes through the town Loeb was born in, and you can see a full preview to the event on WRC.com. Plus, there'll be extended action and onboards from the amazing Rally Japan. And after that incredible battle, the Japanese fans are once again out in force to watch the podium celebrations. And it's Sébastien Ogier who's on the top step for the second time this season. Make sure you join us again in France for round 11. But for now, from Japan, it's sayonara.